everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today I am so looking forward to this conversation. I have with me Mr. Steve Cederquist. He's the author of the book, Get Out Alive, Surviving and Thriving After Drugs, Guns, Gangs, Dysfunction, and Crazy. What a title is that? I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. But first and foremost, Steve, my fellow Californian, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I covered it all in the book, right? Like gangs, drugs. Yeah, I think it's all covered in there. Yeah, exactly.
All righty. So my audience might recognize you from the reality TV show Flip or Flop. But as the book title says, there is a personal backstory of repair, rebuild, and renovations in your own life. So I'm assuming, as I glance through the book, it started off with some dysfunction and crazy and led to the drugs and the gangs and everything. And then that was more dysfunction and crazy. So if you could, if you don't mind, spend a little time sharing your story with the audience.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Excuse me. I started out as a guy going through high school, was involved in sports, athletes and stuff, kind of, growing up in that dysfunctional, relationship, the home life I was in. My mom and dad were divorced, so I lived with my mom for a long time, and then my dad felt that it would better serve me to go to military school, so they threw me in military school. I lived there year round. I went there 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and I think that was a good experience for me. I think I was able to kind of, be able, how do I say it in a word? Like, I'll put it this way, family. I mean, the cadets that were with me, we all lived in a barracks, just like a military. So we had a house mom, and you learned responsibility, accountability. You had to do your homework. You had to make it was like the military. Okay. I mean, if your bed wasn't perfectly, you had the military tuck it and you drop it. I mean, we're little kids, and they'd come drop a quarter if they did, and they'd throw everything off your bed and throw it in the middle of the and if you prayed wrong, she would the house mom would spank you, and it was a real God-fearing experience, for me. After that, I went to regular school and was kind of just a man of my own vision and dreams. I've always been kind of an entrepreneur, so I'd find ways to make money legally. And I never got involved with any of the bad stuff, drugs or anything like that, until I was working in a nightclub. And then I was going to college during the day, working in a nightclub at night. And I met my wife, my soon-to-be wife at the time in college. And we were at a party, and we were with these other guys, and they were like firefighters and like ambulance guys and people. Not like today you'd see people in drug, you'd think, oh yeah, they're druggies. It was cocaine, and back in the 80s, it was very acceptable. Like, dude, just do it, you'll be fine. Well, people with addictive personalities, need to recognize, if you grow up in a household where there's addiction issues going on, you need to really, really, really check yourself and be careful, because, you pick up those behaviors. And then, I'd go do my line at this party, first one I'd ever done in my life, and I'm instantly hooked. I'm like, oh, geez. I mean, everything was good on it. Sex, I mean, you name it, it's all good, but instead of, me doing cocaine started doing me, and within a year. And I was in my addiction for 7 years, and in that 7 years, I had 2 children born, during that time. I went from a home, I had a beautiful home in Cyprus, and got Beautification of the Year award to Public Enemy #1, like 2 years later. I mean, the cops hated me, and do you blame them? I mean, I was living with a bunch of druggies coming into my house. The neighbors didn't want, to let their kids play with my kids, and I don't blame it. I junk all over the front yard, and I was going to say shit show, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not, but okay, good. So yeah, it was just a real shit show. And I think, my house getting raided and, me going to jail. I mean, I would, the cops started like messing with me where I would drive down the street to go do something, and I'd come out of the grocery store and they'd pull me over and go, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Groceries, back of the car." They're like, "Yeah, you know, we saw a fight by your house and we think you had something to do with it, so we're going to take you to jail." And they'd impound my car and the groceries would go bad, obviously. You know, they would just, and then they'd let me out the next day. I'd go down to, they'd transfer me on down to the courthouse and I'd sit down there in the holding tank all day. And they're like, "Oh, you're free to go."
Wow.
You know, you know, we talk about police abuse and restructuring police and stuff today. I have a lot of respect for the police, and I don't have any issues of how what they did to me, because I felt that I deserved it. And I felt that when you're doing bad things, that's their job to protect the community from people like me. So I think that getting arrested and, going to jail, I think saved my life. Because I think that if I had not, I mean, think of it this way. When I got caught, I had 2 guns on me. I had drugs on me. I mean, cops were coming through my door. I had a gun on them. They had a gun on me, several guns on me, and a gun on me. And your mind is so whacked out of its mind. You know, you don't think about it, but you were like, you're not in your right mind. So when I had my gun on them, I'm thinking, well, this is my only option. And after being talked down and put the gun down by one of the cops that I did know, had always been respectful. I was able to, they came in and tackled me and stuff like that. But I was able to make amends with them when I got out of jail, because, and then in doing so, they told me, they said, the only reason we didn't shoot you that night. I'm like, "No, why?" They go, "Because you had kids. You had your pregnant wife and 2 kids laying in a bed right behind you." I'm like, "Oh, I thought it was because you liked me." They're like, "No, we were going to shoot you, but we recognized you had kids in the background, and we didn't want to kill them."
Wow. So listening to you talk, it seems like there was quite a frequent relationship between you and police officers there you said Cypress, and some of my audience is not really familiar with California, Los Angeles layout, but Cypress is like a
suburb of Orange County.
A suburb. So it's one of the better areas where we wouldn't figure to hear these stories, Steve, but here we are. But it seems like you had some frequent contact with law enforcement, living that life that happens. What was the aha, like, "Okay, Steve, we've really screwed this all up. We need to turn the car around and go a new direction"? What was that moment for you?
I call it when I went to jail, let me just back up a little bit. I was still in denial. I was still, I was involved in a gang. So we had a gang attorney coming into the jail who was, coming under false pretenses, like, "Hey, I'm here to see my client, but they're bringing us drugs, bringing us cigarettes, bringing us contraband, things that we, were not having in jail." I think what happened was I was in a red band as a high-powered inmate. I was a red band. I was in a single-man cell. And I remember I had stayed up all night. I was high as, I call it HAF, and could do the abbreviations on that. So and I remember I had this little teeny pencil, this little golf, like pencils you get when you go miniature golfing or golfing. And I'm writing all these letters, and I'm cleaning my cell, and this guard walks by, and he looks at me. It's like 4 a.m, bring my breakfast, and he's just shaking his head. I'm like, all arrogant. I'm like, what? And he's like, "Dude," he says, you guys are entertaining, man. I'll tell you that right now." And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You don't think we all know you're high?" He says, "And then you're going to hand me 10 letters to mail out right now?" He goes, who wants to hear from you? Ain't nobody want to hear from you. He says, "What are you in for?" "Let me guess, drugs." "And what are you doing in here?" "Drugs." And I'm just like, "Yeah, whatever, man," and just, so that was all within the same culminating week where I go to court. Like a few days later, I'd already been to court and fired every one of the attorneys that I had because they kept telling me they wanted to give me 10 years. Excuse me. And I remember The bus was driving out from the county jail, and next door is the children's home where my kids were at. So the bus stops for some construction work going on at Juvenile Hall, which is next door. You got county jail, Orangewood Children's Home, and then you got the Juvenile Hall. So I look over, and there's my youngest son sitting on a swing, 18 months old, just looking down at the ground. Everybody else is playing, and so I'm on the window side, windows down only 2 inches so you don't escape, and I'm screaming at him, Gigi, I used to call him nickname Gigi. Gigi, Gigi, come, come. And he came running to the fence, his arms wide open. And I tell you that that was a real turning point for me, because you know I remember getting to the courthouse, and I remember the bus driver held me to one of the last people. Actually, I was the last person. And everybody went inside. He grabbed me, and he unhandcuffed me, and he just said, you know, dude, I don't know what you did. He says, but watching what I watched on that stop there when we came out of jail, he goes, I'm assuming that's your son, right? I go, yeah. He goes, I don't care what you did, but you need to make it right for that kid. He says, you're a big boy. You can handle your own stuff, but do you think it's fair what you did to him? That was eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's so true. We get ourselves in such involved in the nonsense, I call it, you know,
Yes.
like the craziness, the nonsense, and we end up doing things that we're not really thinking. Mm-hmm. So when I had that time to think about, like, oh my God, I realized what I've done to myself, but what have I done to these two children? You know, and I look back now, and, you know, my daughter, who's 30, you know, my daughter's over 30 now, she's 33, and she's doing well. She's a single mom, but she's got an amazing job, and, you know, she lives in Northern Nevada. She's good. And she told me, she says, you know, Dad, there was a lot I didn't tell you. when I was in Orangewood and I got put in foster care, there was some abuse stuff going on, and, you know, and molestations. And I just felt, oh my God, you know, I wish you had told me. She goes, you know, Dad, you had so much to deal with when you got out, getting us back and all that. I didn't want to totally like derail you. 5 years old. I mean, when she got out, when she was 7 when she came to live with me, you know, I just like, you know, I ended up getting 4 years. I served 2 years. So I got out. She had been in foster care, a couple different homes. And then they were able to put both my son and my daughter in a single home into these amazing people. But in that flux in between there, she went to some crazy stuff happening.
So I'm listening to you say that it took you some time to get your kids back, but I heard previously there was a wife. So I'm assuming you're the mother of the children, the wife, she went a different direction throughout this whole process?
You know, she unfortunately is still to this day caught up in her addiction. Okay. And no, she didn't. She was pregnant when the kids got arrested, and they didn't arrest her, and they couldn't take an unborn child. Well, they were going to try, but they had to catch her, you know, using and catch her with drugs in her system, and they had no reason to test her at the time. So they didn't arrest her. She went to live with the drug connection and had the baby. And then some things happened with that whole thing where he got the guy she was with, he went and murdered a couple people, and it was a whole big scene. And she wasn't around all that. But then she, what happened after that was she was able to, or I was able to, sorry. I got out, and I remember, you know, telling my parole officer at the time, I said, hey, I need to get my youngest son. I go, I know where he's at. I said, I need to go there. He says, I'll meet you there. So he didn't want to get me in any trouble. He knew, like, hey, I was doing the right things. He knew I was trying to live life on life's terms. And so he met me there. I walked in, total drug house. She wasn't there. He was my youngest son was in a crib, playpen. I remember grabbing him out of there and just telling the guy, like, hey, dude, that's my kid. I'm taking him. So if she comes back, if and when she comes back, let her know that I have my son.
Okay.
So I was, I'm with 3 kids, You know, I mean, I'm basically a new dad on clean terms, trying to raise 3 kids, $9 an hour, you know, painting apartments. And then like I said, I'm an entrepreneur. So I thought this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
So I decided to do side jobs, and I decided to do what I do best. You know, nights, weekends, I would do like let the kid do the homework, the food for my kids, all that. Yeah, good night. I'd go out and work for a couple hours. I would, I would do a neighbor's kitchen or redo their bathroom, whatever it would take to make extra money. And I was able to parlay that to a better job. And then eventually, 2006, I was able to leave the job that I was at. I'd been there for like 13 years and start my own business full time.
Awesome. So everybody needs to understand, just because you fall down, that doesn't mean you have to stay down, and it doesn't mean that you won't thrive after your failures. You can turn the car around and go a different direction for sure.
Well, as my daughter says, quite bluntly, nobody cares. And it's funny because I posted that. I was going to post that this morning. I've got a post that's in the draft form, and I thought people maybe won't understand it. Maybe they take that as me being harsh. And I don't mean that people don't care about you as a person. Like you have family, friends, they care. Excuse me. So if you got in trouble or something like that, yeah, I'd care. I'd be like, hey, what's up? You need help? Whatever. But to actually bail you out and go through all that drama, people are just like, dude, your life is, you need to get it pulled together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can't keep you can't come live with me. I mean, there's a limit.
Yes.
So we use that term a lot. Nobody cares because it's my daughter. It's kind of a joke between us because we both, we call each other up to complain like, oh, this and that. She's like, Dad, what? I'm like, nobody cares. I'm like, you're right. Nobody cares. So I just do it. I put it in perspective. I figure we're responsible for our own stuff. And if you want something bad enough, whether that be get out of the gang scene, drug scene, or bad, just whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be drugs. Doesn't necessarily have to be a gang. It could be just a bad situation. It could be a bad relationship. You could be, whatever. If you keep living in misery, I mean, you're just going to keep in it with the same results.
Yeah.
So you have to change your mindset. Your
Sure.
mindset is going to be like, you know what? No, I refuse to keep running into this wall. I'm going to do this. I'm going to set my goals, and that's going to be my train of thought.
Okay. Now you touched on the next question I want to ask you, and we all know that addiction comes in many forms. It could be drugs, it could be social media, it could be food, but I like to actually ask people who went through it for some inside scoop and advice. So 2-part question. If you could give a piece of advice to somebody suffering with an addiction, what would it be? And then the next part would be, if you could give a piece of advice to the loved one of the addicted, what would it be?
That's a good question. The advice I give to everybody. I used to do a program at Hoag Hospital, and I would talk to anywhere from 2 people to 500 people once a month. And I remember I would always look in the audience, and I'd always look to see who I was. I'd do the Dale Carnegie thing. I try to like, okay, I'm talking to you tonight because I know you need to hear it, and that's it's a gut instinct thing. And I would see the people, some people like in the back, they'd be talking shit like, oh yeah. And I'd stop and I'd say, hey man, how'd you get here? What's up? Just answer my question, man. How'd you get here? And they're like, oh, my boss made me come, or my mom made me come. And I said, oh, and you don't really want to be here, do you? And they're like, no, man, I want to. Like, why would you waste their money and their time? I mean, if you want something bad enough, you have to give something for that. And you have to dig inside your soul and your heart if you want that change. And you have to really want it, because I see a lot of people, they talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. I'm developing a new show, and that's what I do with my television stuff. And the context of the show is about people wanting to make change, whether that be our homeless situation, our drug situation in the streets, whatever's going on. You know what I mean? And I love people, who actually do two things with your two-part question. It's like they talk the talk, but they walk the walk. So what I like about that, it gives, and so the show premise is the first half of the show is where we go out and talk to somebody like Oscar De La Hoya, someone of that caliber, which we know Oscar, and he's going to be one of our guests. And it's not only they talk it, but they actually walk it. So we spend the other half actually executing what we talk about. And I think that that's what people need to do. If you want it bad enough, okay, how bad do you want it? Before you run to somebody and say, oh, I need a program. Oh, really? What kind of program do you need? How are you going to pay for it? What you going to do? Does your insurance take? You have to take the steps because you have to own part of that. If you don't own part of that, you've got it's like paying for something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I ask, when guys do work for me or whatever, if they want something, I make them pay, like, even if it's a dime or a quarter. I'm like, hey, give me a quarter, man. They're like, what do you mean? I go, just give me a quarter. And I'll give them a bottle of water or something, I give it back, but it's just more of like, you're paying for something. So you've got to pay for it within your mind and your mindset. So you have to say, you know what? Hey, Mom, I definitely want to do this. I want to get help. I've looked into it. I looked into Phoenix House. I looked into this, but hey, I can't afford that. But I did look into the Rock Center down here in Orange County, and it's an indigent program. I could get in. It's going to be a 6-month commitment. What do you think?
Okay.
And I like that. Where you also you're part of your own solution.
Okay. Now, you have the tips for the loved one?
The loved ones, yeah. Loved ones is exactly what I just said. It's like you guys need to not just like, oh, well, here, let me help you, or for sure, damn sure, don't give them
no enabling.
No, yeah, that's that Al-Anon thing. Definitely don't enable. I mean, my dad used to do that to me, unfortunately, because my dad was making up, because he wasn't around a lot, but he would make up for it. Like I'd bullshit him, and he would write me a check. Oh, let me help you out. I'm like, cool. I'd take that check, go cash it, head right to the dealer, right to the connection. So I think that I'm always willing to help people. I think that it's important to help people, but I want to see where they're at in their life, where they've gone. Okay. So they've gone through this program 6 months, and they get out. I've had many people. It's funny because I deal with a lot of people all the time, and I deal with a lot of celebrities and a lot of their family members, and they're like, Steve, we need your help. I mean, I've done a lot with some really big celebrities, and like I don't like mixed words. I don't care who they are. It doesn't impress me. I'm like, anyway, dude, here's the deal. I had one call me, and he was in San Bernardino. Well, he was in Redlands, and he calls me, and he's a big celebrity son, and he's like, well, and their parents had cut him off already, and they're like, Steve, can you help? I'm like, well, let me see what I can do. So I called Salvation Army, and they said, yeah, we'll accept him if he really wants help. So he calls me. He's like, well, I'm in Redlands. I said, hey, no problem, dude. I'm going to pick you. I'm going to have a rider. I mean, not a rider. What do you call him? Uber, pick you up, and I'm going to take you to the San Bernardino version of the Salvation Army. And he gets there, and he missed the cutoff time, and he says, oh, they're already closed. I said, oh, okay. Well, can I go stay in a hotel? I said, no. You can sleep on the curb. You can sleep right there in the front door. I said, they open tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, man. You'd be first one in line. Whew, lucky you. He's like, well, I'm like, dude, come on. You're out there doing heroin. You're out there doing all this stuff, man. Come on. Seriously? You ain't never slept in the street? You can get your hustle ain't going to work on me. Mm-hmm. So he did, and he got in the program, and, he really wanted it. He devoted his whole heart and soul into the program. I mean, they're tough. It's any kind of free program. It's not the cushy, like fluff your pillows kind of thing. There's a little chocolate on your pillow today. It's straight up like, man, here's a toilet brush. Get busy, and you better not look at me the wrong way. We're going to kick your butt out.
That's right.
So I think that it's, I think people, if you have a family member that's struggling, you got to bring it to their attention. I think you just got to tell them with all the love in the world. Just be like, hey, you know what? I love you more than anything in this world. You mean the world to me. But what I need you to do is I need you to help yourself. Okay. So if you want it that bad, Don't ask me for a dime. You go out there and try to find a program. You go figure it out, get it handled. And then when you get out, you go right in, don't bring them home, make them go in a halfway house. Because when you're in a program, you live in this isolated bubble. It's like jail. It's like, I used to laugh at people like in jail, I'd call them, they'd have piggyback Jesus. I don't know if you know what that means, but they would have Jesus get on their shoulders, and he'd be hanging on, and they'd be preaching everything and up like, oh, Lordy, Lord, you know, and then I'm like, and then they get out.
And it's a whole different story.
No, they tell Jesus, get off. They're like, hey, man, thanks, you know, we appreciate it, man, but guess what? We're good now. You know, it's the same thing. It's like you go from this bubble to out of the bubble back in real life.
Okay.
So then you can be supportive of them when they get out. So, and then when they're in the program too, if it's visiting day and they're doing the right thing, yeah, go visit. Put a little money in their books, bring them some cigarettes, whatever they want. You know, help them manage their recovery as well.
Okay.
But on the outside, let them go to recovery home. Let them get a little BS job, pay for that. You know, just kind of build their self-esteem back up and assimilate back into society and become, you know, somebody who's going to, you know, do the right thing.
Change their life around. So it sounds like until somebody is ready to help themselves, you really can't do anything, which is opposite of, there's another reality TV show that was very popular, intervention. So it's not really effective for the family members to step in and stage an intervention. The person is not going to do it until they're ready to do it.
I think the percentage rate, I actually know the producer of intervention, and we've had several talks about that, because I wondered, you know, there are a lot of success stories with that. Some people need that push, but I think, you know, where we differ a little bit is just that I feel that, you know, with intervention, you have to understand too, though, that what they do with that, they give the whatever the participant, the family member, whoever they're interviewing or, you know, in doing the intervention with, they cut them off. They just say, look, we're here to tell you we love you and we care about you, but if you don't get help, you're going to die. And you're you know, because that's where all of us end anyway. We all end in jail, institutions, or death. I mean, it's just, there's no way around the three. I call them the three crowns. What crown do you want to wear? Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
I've buried so many people I've known. I can't even tell you. I feel like an undertaker. No BS. I mean, I get people that drop on me all the time because they think they're smarter. They're like, oh, you know, I could just go out one more time. Oh, okay. Let me know how that works out for you. You know, with the guy that I have, when I got off drugs, my friend Henry. It's funny because I hadn't seen Henry in a couple of years, and we just met up, and I gave him a copy of my book. I had signed it for him and everything, and he's in the book. And we were talking about that, and just how, you know, he used to tell me, he says, you were the hardest ever, man, because you're just so stubborn and pig-headed. And, you know, I said, yeah, I know I am. That's why I say, but once I found my own way, I was able to definitely get it, you know, definitely get myself in a better situation, you know what I mean? And be able to do it my way, but my way, I was able to be successful with it. Okay. If that makes any sense.
Gotcha. Now, as you transitioned and turned your life around, one of the beautiful things that I read that you're now involved in is philanthropy. So how did you segue into that?
Well, I had done, I had always kind of been around the Hollywood scene. You know, I've been around a lot of producers and just set stuff I did with, you know, my dad's company. And then I got the job offer with Flip or Flop, and I got a lot of notoriety just for that, you know, doing that show. And Tarek's amazing. You know, we were all young doing that show. It was only the second season, and you know, Tarek, you know, it was all new to him, you know, and he was going through a lot with his back stuff, and you know, he went through a lot of issues too, you know, with his stuff and doing pain pills because of all the, you know, he had a massive back issue going on, so it affected him a lot. And you know, just watching them grow, you know. So with that, I got I had a publicist, and we wanted to, I love creating. That's my entrepreneur spirit in me. I love creating and I love being around positive people. I love creating change. So how that came out with the philanthropy was first I was involved with Kelly Osbourne's group, I Love Me Foundation.
Okay.
It was mainly domestic violence with the LGBTQ community, and I really loved, because I feel like we leave out so many people, you know, LGBT, straight people, but I think we should definitely include everybody in all that, all races, all, you know, religions. It doesn't matter. People are people. We all believe the same. And I you know, it's funny because I just got in this discussion with somebody the other day about that, or that one. Just happened to be walking by a protest, and we got in this big, real friendly, nothing bad. It was just a friendly conversation, just about humans and how we're human. You know, dude, we're all human. We just need to, you know, I can't imagine what this is like, you know. I don't know. It's just crazy. But I think that, you know, when I left Kelly's organization, I went with I'm Enough movement, and it's domestic violence. We're actually starting up we actually started the nonprofit I'm Enough movement. And what we're doing with that is we're building a women's safe house, women's and children's safe house in San Diego. So we're in it. We're open to the LGBTQ. We're open to everybody, anybody. I mean, domestic violence due to the, you know, obviously the coronavirus, and it was bad before, but now with everybody being locked down and all that stuff going on, it's gotten bad. I mean, really bad. I mean, it's up like 70%. I mean, it's like nuts. Crazy how people are just beating on each other. You know, I don't know. I mean, I know everybody gets, you know,
I think the world is just like on super tense mode now, you know, with the COVID-19, with the politics, with everything. I think everybody is just tense here. Everybody's just ready to bite everybody's head off.
It's sad, you know. I get in. I'm an independent, so I I never vote on party lines. I always look at both sides, and I try to think what's best for us and our country, and like, you know, I always listen. You know what I mean? I feel that that's what more people should do. You know, I've had a lot of friends, and you know, they try to like interject their hatred and like towards one person. I said, hey, you know what? And I actually literally there, my house, I break out my can of Pam, and they're like, what's that? I go, well, because I'm spraying on me right now, because all that stuff you're trying to throw at me right now, it's just going to slide off, dude. I ain't listening. I don't want to hear it. It's you know, I think everybody needs to make their own opinions and have their own, you know, things. But I think we got to remember one thing is we're all human. You know, I can only imagine God's probably up there just shaking his head going, dang, look at you people, man.
Thank you.
What's up?
Thank you. Right?
What are you guys doing?
This is not the mess I created, right?
No, this is not. This is definitely the show that I didn't want to see happen.
Yes, indeed. Well, let me circle back to the book real quick before we get out of here, because I feel like I could talk to you for a little bit longer today, but I want to make sure I get back to the book. Now, I was reading through the book, and one of the things that I really liked about it was that not only is it's your story, it's your memoir, but you're giving people some very proactive tools throughout. It's like, you know, get out the book. We're going to fix some stuff here. So what is the style and structure of your book for the reader?
I included a lot of people that I've known, and a lot of names are changed for anonymity reasons. But I wanted to be just not about me, because I think that gets kind of lost when people write a book. Sometimes they write it all about, whoa, look at me, look, it ain't all about me. I'm nobody. I really am. I'm just somebody who wants to change the world, you know, from my perspective. And I think that the style we wrote the book was I had an author help me. She's a 3-time New York Times bestselling author. And her and I worked on this book for 2 years. I mean, back and forth. I mean, we were just like, well, I'm like, what do you think about that? She's like, that sucks. You know, she was legit with me, and I love that. You know, I love when people are just straight out. We just wanted to write it to be where, like you said, it's we want to help people, and like, you know, get your pencil out, make it interactive, where you can like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I made the book where you can actually fold it up and put it in your back pocket, and small enough and it's soft enough where you can just fold it up, put it in your pocket, and use it and reference it. You know, just things that work for you. So when you get in that place, we're like, oh, you know what? I remember in that book, I had a tool for that. I'm going to do that. Yeah, that's a good idea. So they could circle back to it. So the next phase of the book will be definitely a new workbook that I'm going to be putting out. It's going to be a lot more interactive. and it's going to be an online thing too, where we can talk like we're doing now. I can talk to groups. We'll do online, Zooms and things like that, because I've gotten a really good response from that. I mean, we made bestseller on Amazon in 3 different categories. I mean, so we've done amazing, and I've been reached out by people, and I make that available. I just say, hey, if you can't afford the book, let me know. I'll get a copy in your hand. I'll send you a digital copy today.
Awesome.
So I feel that it's not about making money in the book. It's about changing lives.
Okay, cool. Do you, you talked about the women's center that you're doing, but it just seems like your story would be so effective going back into the jail prison system and talking to the guys that are, do you happen to do any of that work, or?
I'm going to be doing it after COVID. Nobody's doing anything right now. The book was released during COVID.
Oh, okay.
So we've already been approached by I've been approached by the some people out of different school districts, San Bernardino Unified.
Okay.
The superintendent, I know him, Dale Marsden. Okay. And I talked to Dale about doing some stuff. I've talked to my buddy over here, Kirk Barmeister, who's the assistant superintendent for Newport Mesa. And same thing. He's like, dude, when we get back, I'd love to have you come in and talk to these kids. And I'm like, I would love it.
Great.
Love it. That'd be awesome. And if we could just change the trajectory of some of these youngsters coming up, I mean, who knows? You could effectively change the life of someone who's going to grow up to be a president.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And then that'd be kind of a cool legacy. Hey, I turned my life around because of this book called Get Out Alive.
Thank you. Yeah. My one encounter with Steve changed the whole trajectory of my life. Wouldn't that be something awesome?
That'd be awesome.
Now I'm going to ask you
behind the book. There was a name behind the book, and do you have time to hear that real quick?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And this be a little weird because I hear it's maybe a little out there for some people, but here's what happened. My sister died, and so I was with a friend, and she said, "Hey, my mom wants to talk to you." Said, "Who's your mom?" I never met your mom. She goes, "Well, she lives in Idaho, like Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, but she's a medium." And I'm like, "Oh God, what's up?" I'm like, I've always been kind of like, oh, it's the Bible not to do that stuff, So, but I'm like, all right, I'll talk to her. And she told me, she gets on the phone with me, and she goes, "Hey, I know this is kind of weird for you, whatever." I said, "Yeah, it's a little weird. What's up?" And she goes, "Hey, Susan wants you to know that your sister Sam is no longer in pain, and she's happy with me right now." Oh, that's cool. She goes, "You know who Susan is?" I said, "No, I don't know who Susan is." So hung up, talking to my friend, literally like in the kitchen, I dropped the cup in the sink. I go, "Oh crap, Susan was my mom. I just forgot her name. She died like 30-something years ago." And I'm like, oh. So I called her back and I said, "Hey, I just want you to know that's my mom." She goes, "Dude, when you said you were open to messages," she goes, "you've opened up a floodgate." She goes, "There's so many people and they all kind of look rough and, like they want to thank you for like changing their life and like giving them the extra time that they had." And I'm like, "Who are these people?" And she goes, I don't know who they are, dude." So the reason I wrote the name Get Out Alive was I felt that if I effectively change lives of people that have passed on, and they want to come back to thank me, I want to get out. I want you to get out now while you're alive and enjoy what time you have here. So that's why I came up with the name.
Cool story. Goosebump story.
I know, right. It's a little, yeah. Yeah. I'll probably get a bunch of emails like, "Oh, you're one of those," and you're one of those Hollywood people. No,
it's like California,
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah. Wait. I got my glow ball right here, guys. Wait, let me tell you your future.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to ask you my random question, but
oh God, here it is.
Yeah, I know. But before I ask this, just totally off topic, but
it's okay.
If you are trying to decide if you want to fix a property or maybe it's a flop, what is a key deciding factor?
Key deciding factor on any property that you thinking about buying or what you want to buy is always do your numbers and always get an inspection, because you don't know. I mean, like I get approached every day. People, "Oh, buy my house," and I'll go there and look at it. It's like sliding halfway off the hill. I'm like, "What? And you want how much?" No, I'm good. And Tarek and I, we laugh about it all the time because, it's just people, I mean, I'll buy any house. It doesn't matter, but price has to be right. Price is right. I'll buy that house sliding off the hill. I just got to fix it. I just got to figure out how much it's going to cost me.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the random question, and then you can tell everybody how they pick up the book.
Can I get a drum roll or anything?
This one's easy. This one's easy.
I was expecting something hard. Come on now.
What is your least favorite food?
My least favorite food is, okay, I've got a few, but I'm going to give you like the top 5.
Okay.
I don't like liver, and I don't like Brussels sprouts, lima beans, asparagus, and what's those other ones? Oh gosh, there's some other nasty one out there I don't like. And I've tried to like them.
Okay.
I just don't. I don't know. I think there's the 4. I'll go with the 4. But yeah, I mean, I've had friends, oh, dude, you haven't had those Brussels sprouts the way they do them. And I go, dude, they still smell like dirty feet, man.
Okay. I know, right? That's like me and beets. I still can't. I keep on trying beets. I can't get around beets.
Okay.
Right. At least you didn't say something like tacos. We'd have to disown you as a Californian.
Oh, yeah.
Something like tacos.
I think I'm part Latin because my girlfriend's from Peru.
Oh, okay. Oh, Peruvian.
I could live. I told her, I said, if things get really bad here, we can just bail to Mexico. She goes, why? I said, well, because I love the atmosphere, I love the people, and I love the food.
Yes, indeed. Great.
And I can surf every day. That'd be awesome.
Great. All righty, Steve. So tell everybody how they get the book, how they connect with you, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. You guys can, really easy to find the book. Just look up my name, stevecederquist.com, and it's CEDERQUIST. You can find me please follow me on Instagram. I would really like that. You can reach out to me. It's just my name as well, Steve Cederquist. If you guys want the book and you can't afford it, please message me, and I will send it to you immediately. I'll send you a link. You get the book, and we'll get it to you. If you need one, if you buy one and you want it signed or whatever, just think. If you've got a question, reach out to me. Okay. SteveCederquist.com, or you can reach me out at my email, steve.cederquist@gmail.com. Hit me up. I get hit up all the time, and I'm never too busy to answer a question.
Great. I love it. I love it. So you're out, so we can come out and surf with you. What days you go surfing?
Right now, I haven't been in the past probably 2 weeks. I've been so busy. I've not had an opportunity. I'm going to go this weekend.
Okay.
I'm going down to San Diego and meet some friends this weekend. I just bought into another business down there, so now I'm in the food business. Apparently, I'm in a food truck business down there. Entrepreneur at heart. Yeah, food truck with celebrity chef Lauren Lawless, which is awesome. She's amazing cook. And so, yeah, I'm going to be down there seeing the truck and doing all that stuff, but I'm bringing my board so I can throw it in the water.
Any new stuff coming up on TV? Anything on the pipeline to film or anything?
Yeah, I've got 2 shows that we're working on right now. I've got 2 amazing shows, actually. They're going to be good. One is just about acceptance, which is going to be great. I can't go into more detail on that, or I'll get my tongue cut out of my mouth by my producer.
Yes.
And my writer, yeah, because we're not, I guess I tell too much about the shows and they get all like, no, you can't say anything, people steal it. And the other one is an amazing show as well. And
okay.
You'll love that one as well. That's a scripted series. The other one is more of a, just kind of what we talk about, like what we talked about today. That's kind of what the show is going to be about. We'll just leave it at that.
Oh, good.
And yeah, I got those 2 going on, and I've been approached for a couple more, but I haven't really bought onto those yet because I'm trying to focus on these 2.
Great.
Working still, doing my construction stuff. I've got a big, huge project I'm doing in Mission Vieja that's coming out amazing.
Okay.
We're filming that as well. We let a couple film crews come in and film it for one of the shows that they were doing. So it's really good. A show called House Money, which you can see on Quibi coming up. It's going to be great.
Great. Well, good to hear. Well, Steve, I've had a wonderful time. I've taken up more of your day than I expected to, so please forgive me for that. But I hope you've enjoyed the conversation just as I have. So I thank you for hanging out with me today.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Much success to you. That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.
See you guys.